There's a reason why most people never truly change. And it's not because they lack motivation. It's not because they don't have the right plan. And it's not because they don't want it bad enough. It's because deep down, they don't trust themselves. Think about this. How many times have you told yourself that you were going to do something and then didn't? How many times have you said, I'll start Monday. This is my last time. I'll eventually change. But nothing actually changed. You see, the real reason most people stay stuck isn't because they're lazy. It's because they've broken so many promises to themselves that their word has lost its power. And that's what we're about to shift. Because when you make this first shift, when you finally break free from this cycle, you'll unlock the ability to change anything in your life. So what is it? What's the first shift that will set the foundation for everything else? It's this: recommitting to integrity. Now, when people hear integrity, they think it's about being a good person or doing the right thing when no one's watching. But here's what it really means: keeping your word. When I think of integrity, I think of the saying, your word is your bond. Because at the end of the day, trust is everything. And without it, you've got nothing. Think of trust like a jar of marbles. It's a great analogy. Every time you keep a promise to yourself or to others, you drop a marble in the jar. Over time, you're building trust, consistency, and confidence. But here's the catch. One broken promise can shatter the whole jar. Have you ever tried to put marbles back in a broken jar? The foundation is gone. The truth is, most people are living with a shattered jar. Once it's broken, it's hard to rebuild. It's not impossible, but it's hard. You might still have all the marbles, but the glass is shattered. There's nowhere to put them. And that's why integrity matters so much. It's not just about being honest with others. It's about being honest with yourself. During my coaching program, we were required to read a book. It's this book, Integrity: The Courage to Meet the Demands of Reality by Dr. Henry Cloud. That book hit me hard. One of the biggest takeaways from this was success is not about talent. It's about character. Dr. Cloud breaks down how people think that being skilled or smart leads to success. But in reality, it's who you are that determines your results. He talks about how a lack of integrity creates blind spots that self-sabotage you before you even realize what's happening. Now, let me give you guys some stats to prove it. Studies show that 90% of leadership failure comes from a lack of character. Not a lack of skill. Think about that. It's not that people aren't talented enough. It's that they break promises, lack self-discipline, avoid responsibility, or let small lies turn into habits. They lose trust in themselves. If you keep making commitments and breaking them, you're literally programming yourself to believe that your words mean nothing. And if you don't trust yourself, why would anyone else? Here's the hard truth about integrity, and I'll be real with you. I used to have a horrible relationship with integrity, and I didn't even realize it. The first time I was truly confronted about it was when I joined the International Coaching Federation program. We spent an entire month studying integrity, reading books, doing deep self reflection, and getting coached on it. The first question they asked us was, what is your relationship with integrity? And that question, it kind of stunned me, to be honest. I never even thought about it. Integrity, I mean, sure, I'd consider myself a good person, but when I really looked at my actions, I had to face the truth. I was constantly breaking promises to myself. I told myself I would quit bad habits, but I didn't. I told myself I'd follow through on my goals, but I made excuses. I told myself that I was disciplined, but deep down, I knew I wasn't. I was lying to myself. I moved to Las Vegas because I wanted fun, freedom, and a fresh start. Before that, I'd spent 3 years in Texas, where weed was illegal. I even had a run-in with the law over something that wasn't even mine, just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. That whole experience, it messed with me a lot. And I felt like I was living under constant stress. So when I got to Vegas, it felt like a breath of fresh air. No more paranoia. You could smoke weed wherever you wanted. Didn't have to worry about running into the law. I could finally smoke in peace. The city was alive. Nonstop energy, late nights, no rules. I thought I had freedom. But in reality, I was trapped in my own bad habits. Smoking weed became the norm. It was like a 5-course meal: breakfast, lunch, dinner, and a few puffs even in between as snacks. I was breathing in more weed than I was breathing in oxygen. I'm just joking, but I wanted to drive it home for you guys. And it really started to consume me. And that's when I knew I had a problem. I knew deep down I wanted to and needed to quit smoking. But it had such a grip on me that I couldn't shake it. So one day I told my roommate, yo, bro, like, I think we should stop smoking. Let's do this together. I wanted accountability. He agreed, and we made a commitment to quit. Then 5 days later, I walk into the house around midnight, and there's a full-blown house party going down. Music's blasting, people are drinking, everyone's smoking, everyone's having a good time. And I was pissed. I had just worked a long day, and here I was back in an environment I was trying to escape. So what did I do? I gave in. Started drinking. The night blurred by. Before I knew it, it was 6 a.m. I remember sitting across from my roommate, both of us drained, drunk, staring at each other with a blunt in hand. The sun was coming up, lighting up the Vegas skyline, and right there and then, in that moment, it hit me. I was a fraud. We promised each other we were going to quit, and here we were, right back in it, like nothing ever happened. I remember saying, dude, what the fuck are we doing? Like, we literally just committed to quitting. And of course, he shrugged it off and said, it's just a little bit of weed, man. It's not a big deal. But to me, it was a big deal. In that moment, I became extremely emotional. Maybe it was the booze talking, but I had this massive breakdown. And I really broke down and got very emotional. It's like, dude, I'm tired of lying to myself. This is bullshit. I can't keep doing this to myself. I can't keep lying to myself like this. He tried to calm me down, but in reality, I don't think he really understood. Maybe integrity was a blind spot to him, but it was a flashing red light for me. Now, here's the big picture: the weed wasn't even a real problem. It's legal, it's not that big of a deal, but it was my integrity. If I couldn't keep a simple promise to myself, what was I really worth? I was so overwhelmed with emotion that I stormed out the house. I couldn't be there anymore. I just started walking, no plan, no destination, just a flood of thoughts I had been avoiding for years, not just about weed. It was like everything in my life I lied to myself about just flashed into my mind. Walking turned to hiking. Then, as the sun began to rise, I saw this mountain and I just started climbing it. Step by step, I let the silence force me to face the truth. I had been breaking my own word for years. I said I wanted more. I said I wanted to quit things. I said I wanted to be successful. I said I wanted to be a coach. But every time I broke a promise to myself, I was proving that I wasn't ready for it. At the top, as the sun lit up the sky, everything became clear. If I couldn't trust myself, how could I expect my life to change? That was the moment I decided I will never break my word to myself again. That was the shift, the real shift. Not just wanting change, not just talking about it, committing to integrity, fully, completely, no more excuses. Right there and then, I made a promise. 12 months, no drinking, no smoking, no weed, no compromises. And at this time, I meant it. My word was my bond. I locked in and I followed through. Even in Sin City, surrounded by every temptation, everyone smoking weed around me, everyone drinking, I kept my word. Because when you commit to integrity, when your word actually means something, you become unstoppable. That was the moment that everything changed with that one shift, that shift to recommitting to integrity. I want you to ask yourself some real questions right now. Where in your life are you breaking promises? Where are you lying to yourself? Where are you out of integrity and pretending it's not a big deal? Maybe you tell yourself you're going to start working out, but you never do. Maybe you tell yourself you're going to spend more time with your kids or your spouse, but you keep making excuses. Maybe you tell yourself you're going to go all in on your business, but you half-ass it every time things get tough. And here's the truth. Every time you break your word, you chip away at your own self-respect. Every time you make an excuse, you reinforce the belief that you don't follow through. Every time you say, I'll do it later, you're teaching yourself that your word doesn't mean shit. And if you don't trust you, why would anyone else? Now let's take this even deeper. What is this costing you? Is it costing you your confidence? Is it costing you opportunities? Is it costing you relationships? Is it costing you the life you say you want? Because here's what I know. If you don't shift your integrity, your dreams will always stay out of reach. If you don't learn to trust yourself, no one's going to trust you. And if you keep lying to yourself, you will never escape the cycle you're stuck in. If this hits home for you, good. That means it's time to do something about it. This isn't about setting some random goal This is about making a decision right now to stop lying to yourself. I want you to identify 1 to 3 areas in your life where you're out of integrity. Be brutally honest about what it is costing you and decide right now to change it and recommit to integrity. Not tomorrow, now. Because the moment you shift this, I promise you, everything's going to change. Now, what's it going to be? Are you going to commit to integrity, to being the person who follows through, who keeps their word, who builds unshakable trust in themselves? Or are you going to commit to lying to yourself and be the guy that says, it's not a big deal, making excuses and staying stuck in the same cycle that's been holding you back? The choice is yours. But here's what I know. If you're in this group, I already know what kind of person you are. You wouldn't be here if you weren't ready to step up, face the truth, and make real change. So right now, decide. Because the moment you recommit your integrity, everything is going to change. And now that you've made the first shift, it's time to find out what the second shift is. I'll see you in the next video.